Okay, so let's look at our what we refer to as efficiency variances. And really, these ratios tell us how well we're managing what we refer to as working capital. I mean, I'll write that, I'll talk about that in a second. And if you're using your assets efficiently, it's saying how well are you using these assets and how well are you managing your working capital. All right, so let's see what we sort of focus in here on this idea of working capital very quickly. I mean, we're already using this language already, but the key point again is that when you invested, for example, 10 million into a business and you used 2 million to buy a building, the building itself does not work. It just sits there. It's an asset of yours. It doesn't work. When I say it doesn't work, it doesn't change. It stays as it is. Every other asset changes. So whenever you buy inventory, that inventory turns into trade receivables. Trade receivables turns into money. You might have bought some liabilities. You might have bought some assets on credit. So you might have bought some inventory on credit. So you pay that off. That disappears. You buy some more on credit. Then less money. You have less money. Then you sell it. Then you have your owed money when you sell it. Then you buy. So the key point is we have this constant movement between inventory, trade receivables, inventory, trade payables, trade receivables, money, pay off trade payables, buy more inventory on credit, sell it, get trade receivables, sell it, so receive the money, pay trade. So you have this constant cycle. And this is really what's referred to as the working capital cycle. And the key point here is that for this cycle to have its nice, sweet flow, you need to be able to manage your inventory, your trade receivables, and your trade payables. I mean, we've already talked about managing your money because we can look at the liquidity ratios there. But in terms of managing trade payables, we need to be able to follow it up and chase up for our money. We need to be able to make sure that we're not paying out trade payables too quickly because we want to make sure we have enough money to be able to still meet other needs. We want to make sure we're not holding too much inventory because it can go bad. And that's what we're really talking about here. So let's jump into this straight away and look at the first one. Let's look at inventory turnover days. So what are we saying? Let me just go here. I've gone to the wrong page. Let's come over here. So what are we saying? So we're saying that, for example, if during the year you had bought, if your cost of sales, your cost of sales were worth £10,000. So you had bought goods worth £10,000 during the year, and at the end of the year you have inventory sitting of £1,000. So the argument really is that you had bought this during the year and you have this left. So that technically means you got rid of £9,000 worth of inventory. That's the cost of sale. I mean, you probably sold it for what, 15,000? I don't know, whatever. The key point is that this is the cost of everything. You have £1,000 left of inventory. So we sort of say, well, of the £10,000 that you bought, you still have 1,000 left. So I guess the argument is you have 10%, if you're talking percentages, you say you have 10% of the goods that you actually bought left in your warehouse. I mean, I guess the argument is that, I guess like all things, you don't want much inventory left. You want to be able to get rid, right? You would like this to be as low as nothing. Ultimately, you don't want to be holding inventory. You want to sell everything. So if you sell everything, you're able to make more money. So, I mean, if a business has a cost of sales of 10,000 and they have inventory left of 5,000, well, then we have a problem. It means you only, got rid of £5,000 worth of goods. So you really have 5,000 left, or if you have half of the goods that you ultimately bought. And that's 50%, and that's not good. I mean, when I say that's not good, well, it depends on the industry. But the key point is comparing both businesses, on average, you would say, well, they were better at maintaining their inventory and getting rid of it. Now, this idea of 10% and 50% doesn't work very well because we in business we like to talk about things in days, because we like to say, oh well, how long did it take you to get rid of something? So just saying that, oh, we have 10% of our goods still in inventory, we prefer days. So instead of talking in terms of percentages, we use the base of days, which is 365 days in a year. So we say on average it's taking you a certain amount of time over the year. I mean, remember that this depends, because you might have more closing inventory at in the middle of the year. You probably get rid of everything at Christmas. So it depends on when you take this measurement, because remember, these are just averages. So for example, we have 1,000 and we have 10,000. For example, as opposed to saying 10%, we multiply this by 365 days. And then we can speak of this in days. So we can sort of say, if you like, 1,000 divided by 10,000 times 365. So we will say that on average, you're holding inventory for 36.5 days in the year. So, it stays in your warehouse for 36.5 days and then you get rid of it. So this is how we speak of this. We talk about efficiency. So I guess the argument is, as you can tell, that the smaller this number is, the fewer days you are holding the inventory for. And so this is referred to as your inventory turnover days. And what is that? Let's go and look at the formula. The first one, the formula, if you like, is the average inventory. What is your average inventory? I mean, it doesn't really matter. Sometimes we just take the closing inventory. We just need, if you like, an idea of how much inventory on average are you holding at the end of the period. And then we're able to assess, how much of that you are keeping. So, sorry, I was going to write on this, but this is sort of slowed. So what we're saying is that on average, you have an average inventory over cost of sales, and it's a percentage, really, isn't it? Times 365. An average being maybe opening stock plus closing stock divided by 2, average inventory plus closing inventory. But the key point is that this is the ratio. And then multiply that and we get a number. And I guess we can compare businesses, we can compare years that way. And we'll see it in an example in class. But the key point here is this is what we refer to as the average inventory days. And let's just look at the next slide just to make sure. Let's see what's happening here. So again, a high number of days means you're not selling the stock quickly enough, or you're holding too much stock. Again, like I say, it always depends on the nature of the industry and at what period, when during the year we are looking at this ratio. Okay, great stuff. I'll see you in the next video.